gonna like put you here. Um, so we obviously know that COVID is like a big thing, and
Mhm.
with the voting going on and the election and all this, COVID hasn't fully been addressed yet. Not everyone has, like all the necessary people, um they don't, yeah, they haven't addressed COVID in a very strong way, and there's no long-term plan made for COVID, especially when COVID um impacts many people in a long-term way. Like they are left with illnesses and like long-term, what do you call, just like conditions. So what my question is to you is, what do you think? And like how do you think, like, is that a good or a bad thing? Like, why isn't COVID being addressed? And what do you think about it?
Uh, well, I had COVID, and I think they definitely over exaggerate it more than
Mm.
like what needs to be said. So they kind of like initiate this fear um, into you. They want you to be vaccinated. They want you to do this and that. But then at the end of the day, every person is completely different.
Mm.
So them addressing it is important because to me, it seems like they're addressing it just to cause something. Like they're not actually educating about what COVID is. They're not educating about how to, like, if you have COVID, how to actually help yourself. It's more so them creating like a fear of COVID. So instead of addressing it, they just kind of be like, oh yeah, COVID's big, COVID's bad. But they don't actually, there's nothing to solve COVID. Like there's no steps on how we're going to be in the next 5 years. It's just like get your vax and go. Like there's nothing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. What do you think? I just thought of something. We
Yes.
know that the elderly and the aged, they tend to be in a vulnerable spot, and
Yes.
their position is a lot more, it's a little bit more vulnerable compared to, say, someone like you and I, where we have a basically a strong immune system, so and so. Someone that's a little bit older, there aren't that there's not a set plan for people that are older, and for the elderly. Like, what what do you think about that, and how do you think that, like, well, yeah, just what do you think, like, for the elderly more specifically?
Um, well, when bringing their age into it, they're not familiar with technology. And,
Mm.
COVID, lockdown, all information about COVID was actually online. So there were really no news articles. You couldn't go to the doctors and just simply ask. It was all online.
Mm.
So elderly people, I'm not going to say like every elderly person doesn't know how to use technology, but like a vast majority, they don't know how to use it. They don't know symptoms. They don't know how to identify it. Especially if they're at like a nursing home, they're relying on someone to educate them. So when we were in the lockdown, all of our information about COVID was online. So
Mm.
they're kind of at a disadvantage from the beginning.
Yeah, and it's it's sad, but I guess there's only so much we can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
um I mean, I mean, if they can like address something about COVID, that would be good. But it's just the fact that nothing has been addressed. You know what I mean? Like,
And
if
like the addressing is saying how COVID's getting worse and worse, but like that is it.
it's not, like,
Yeah.
it's we're at a point with COVID. We're at a point where it's like, you get it, you get it.
You get it.
You get it,
Exactly.
you get it. And honestly, every person you talk to, most of the time, someone's had COVID. And like, of
Me.
like, yeah, literally, like you've had COVID.
Yeah.
And everyone's different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't think that they're understanding that. And
Ex-
they're treating, like, humans are the same, but I feel like they're treating everyone the same, which is fine. But
it's all. It took the worst case of COVID,
mm,
and they're pretending that that's going to be the case for everybody. When in reality, it's not. We're not all going to end up in hospital. Some people are. Some people won't. Like that's just how it is.
exactly, and everyone is different when it comes to COVID. Like, you were different, I could be different, my mum could be different, Like, I think
We all
that,
have problems, like 100%.
yeah, and someone, big example would be probably hospitals and how they, um, like someone can be in ICU for COVID and then the other person can be just isolating at home. Like,
Exactly.
I think that, they need to kind of, I think a lot of people are confused with COVID. So many people are confused, and I feel that
And then when they have it, do they actually have it? That's the issue.
exactly. And whoever wins this election, like, hopefully they understand that, like, COVID needs to be addressed clearly. I feel like there's a lot of smoke in the air for COVID right
Because
now.
it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing. Like at this point, it was physical before, but now it's kind of like exactly like there's nothing to do about it anymore. It's not in the news.
Exactly. And yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult situation, but I feel like we're at that point where it's like, what do we do from here? But I feel like they really should figure out what to do.
Like out of our hands, but it's in the politicians' hands, but they're like putting it in our hands.
And I think we've gone through every stage of COVID now, and we're at that stage now where they need to kind of make a decision and address it to the entire of Australia that this is COVID, this is what you have to do, this is how it's going to be, let's live, or let's...
Saying like we're going to live with COVID. Okay, perfectly fine, but like I feel like these cases, like we see the cases every single day for like every single state. We see the headlines. It's unnecessary to keep bringing it up if you're saying we live with it, because we don't see our cold or flu cases every day. It's just COVID. So it's like they're isolating it and pretending that it's not a disease. Different.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly like, it's a very difficult situation, and many people have so many opinions. But hopefully, I guess at some stage, COVID is addressed correctly, and just clearly. I think no, it's not clear. Once it's clear, it's a bit better. But yeah, no, thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You look hungover.